Hey everybody, my name's Nancy and I am the Cozy Coastal Gamer, and today we are going to do a tutorial for terrain manipulation and landscaping on that terrain so that there's no floating. Without further ado, let's get in the game. Alright, so first things first, tools. We're going to go in build mode. I know what you're thinking. I said in the last video that I was going to do my terrain manipulation tutorial in Sixum. And this is not Sixum. This is Strangerville, and I will show you why in a minute. Terrain manipulation, if you go click this little house, click the shovel and little pond, it says terrain tools. Now, down on the bottom it says terrain manipulation. There are 6 different types. There's raised terrain, lower terrain, smooth terrain, flatten to height, and flatten lot. So if I picked raised terrain, and then on the top, this one shows the size of the brush. So you can see it get bigger, get smaller. This is if it switches square, and bigger, same thing, bigger, smaller. I like circle. This is the softness. So how harsh you want the sides of the terrain to be. I usually do towards the softer side of things versus the harsh side. So if I went all the way down, you can see it's a harsh cliff versus if I do all the way soft, it's smooth. It's a more of a triangle pyramid shape versus a plateau. I'm going to undo. And then this is how fast it goes up. So if you want to go really fast, you can click that. If you want to go really slow, creep, that's how slow it goes. Now, raised terrain, it just never ends. You just keep going and going and going. Lower terrain's the same, it just goes without end. If you make a hill and you want to smooth it out a little bit, you can do smooth terrain. And that just softens the edges. But you have to be careful because it could make it to almost completely flat. Like so. That is completely flat. But yet it's not. So you got to be really careful with the smooth terrain. If you make a hill and then you decide you want to flatten it on a certain point, you see these lines here? That is where items are going to clip when you place them. So you can see how it jumps up, jump, 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 jump. So that's where it's going to make the new flattened part. And then if you want to bring it down, you go down and then you do the same thing. If you want to flatten to height, you click the flatten to height and then you can manually adjust it here. You can change the height. I usually do my terrain manipulation with controller because I can place it where I want and then I can adjust. Oh, I want it there. I can actually see how tall it's going to be where I'm going to put it. Or you can flatten a lot. Okay, so this is why I couldn't use Sixum. Do you see this brown, rocky, like how it's all rocky and stuff? that you can't walk on. You couldn't really see it on the Sixum lot. And you can use the smooth terrain to smooth it out. So you see how it's all green now, like it's the normal grass texture? That means it's walkable. So I could go with my sim and he goes up fine. If you see the brown, the change in the terrain color, that means your sim cannot walk on it anymore. If you want to make that walkable, you can add stairs. And it might need a few. Yeah. The usable space for when you do terrain manipulation is anything that has this flat green, like neon green looking grid. So I always do terrain manipulation with the grid on. You can turn it off, but you can't see where your sim can actually do stuff. So if I wanted to make this like an outdoor seating area, because I know it's flat, he can use this area. So that's the basics for the terrain manipulation. That's really essentially, if you want to get started, those are my tips for. Now, if you want to, manipulating the terrain around a house makes things a little bit more challenging. If you want to do terrain around a house, you're gonna have this gap. And that's not fun. So what you can do is hide it. You can hide it with the roof. Something like that. The terrain gap is still there, but it can go through a roof for some reason. I also wanted to add that you can place hedges and rocks within the gap to hide the gap as well. And then if you want to do it like a second floor that's hanging off and you still want the ground underneath it, you can raise up the terrain underneath it so that it's flat, and then use the flatten terrain tool and bring it out however far you want. And then like you can hide this gap too by going around. For instance, this part is hidden now. Like if this went around the whole building, it would be hidden. But this isn't usable yet. In order to make it usable, you have to get a step down to connect it to the floor ground. The floor ground. And then ta-da! So that is how you can make a second story that still has the ground underneath it. Some simmers do this when they're creating a faux basement or a garage. They have the garage and then they'll have the the rest of the house on the second floor. So that is something you can do. And if you want to raise terrain under a foundation, you can do it one of two ways. You can build your room, raise it up, raise the terrain. So that's method number one. The other one is you could just build the terrain like so, and then you build your room on top and place it down. And that's how you can do that. If you want to do a pond, and you make your terrain for it, but you have a basement, when you extend the basement, you lose all of the terrain manipulation you've done. So keep that in mind when you start your build, and if you want to expand it or set it up for expansion later on for like a legacy player or something where they're gonna need more space. If you want to do a basement where it's open on top, so you make your basement and then you remove the ceiling, you can still do terrain around it, but it would look as if you started on the edge of your lot. So I would recommend like smoothing it out so it looks more natural, like so. Or if you want a giant cliff there, then that works for you too. All right, this is, I would say, my top pointers for terrain. Floating. It's hard to keep items from floating on terrain that is on a slope. When you want to place landscaping on a hill, remember when we do the flattened terrain and he's got these grids and it jumps up? The elevation lines, I should say. The grid for placing items snaps to these elevation lines. And you can see when I go to a gentle slope, you can see it still does that. It still jumps up. So one thing you can do, let me get an item. So you can see how it's floating over here, right there. One thing you can do is go back, flatten terrain, and find where it clips and bring it up. And depending on the slope, it can, like, depending on how far away it is from this bottom part, you can get it to be flush. Let's see if I can. So that is not floating. Because if you put it on a flat spot, it looks the same. Another thing you can do is, like, if you want to put a tree down, put that one down. You can get with move objects. You can get it to kind of be hidden like that. So you can kind of hide the floating as well with some finagling with different landscapes. If you want to hide this hill, I'm going to go into show live edit objects. We're going to go into debug and let me find it. This rock in cats and dogs really works well. And you can see that when it's perpendicular to the cliff, it goes in. And that's because the footprint for this item is one tile, my guess. So like, yeah, so it doesn't move. So this is one tile footprint that it clips to. Also, do you see on the bottom how it goes through the wall? That means that the footprint of where the item rests is above where the actual item is. So if you want to hide a hill, for instance, if you want to get really close to the hill, it's going to clip to a higher elevation point on the hill. So if you have the item goes below that green line, then it's going to hide more of the cliff while you're hugging it closer with the rock. So like I can get all the way, nope, that's floating. I can get this close and it's not floating. And then I can get another one and get this close. And I only needed 2 rocks. I mean, I would need another one to fill this gap, but height-wise, I only needed 2 rocks. If I wanted to do a non-debug rock, you see the green line? That's the footprint I've been talking about. So I can't get that close. I can do a little bit, and it does go in a little bit to the cliff, but I can't, the outer part of it, I can't get that close to it. So that, I mean, if that's a look you want to do, then go for it. But I like to do the debug rocks because of that. And then if you, for instance, I spent way too long trying to find this one rock. I'm going to put it here unless I accidentally delete it. So this item in the Strangerville debug has a really large part of it that is below the green grid. So it's really good for hiding parts of the hill that you don't want to see, because it's also small. So I was able to hide all of that part of the hill by just that one rock. And then you can put other rocks on top, and then you've created a unique looking hill. And this is just this one hill. The rocks like this are rocks that your Sims can walk through. Editing Nancy here, and I just wanted to add that it's not all debug rocks that will have this where your sim will walk through. For instance, that cats and dogs one, they don't walk through that one for some reason. So you would just have to play test it and finagle it a little bit and make sure that your sim's path won't be within the rock if you don't want it to be. So you can, for instance, place not debug rocks around it so that it blocks the path of where your sim would walk. Also, you can use these rocks for like a basement or staircase that your sims can go through, so you can create like a I call it like the force field rock, force field staircase. Like it's an illusion. So I do that with alien sims. Like I'll have like a basement, and then they'll have like stairs that go through a rock. It's fun. So let me show you a lot where I used all of these tips and tricks for building. Instead of a speed build this time, I'm just gonna pop in a lot I already did. But it's gotta load first. So this is a lot that I built where it's already using those tricks. So for instance, this is that rock with that footprint. And then this is a different one. And then inside, I put a bunch of these to hide that gap, these bushes, so that when it's up, it looks filled in on purpose. Well, I mean, it was on purpose. And then also this debug plant, this one, is in base game. Here we go. So this one also can clip into the cliff, and it clips really well. It does float. So like on here, I layered it so it looks like it doesn't float. But with this item, when you lower it down, that shadow stays with it. So you got to be careful to not lower it down. And then I did the trick here so that the second floor is on the ground, and you can see my stair is there, my step down, and that is just one tile of flooring. And then this is the path that's usable. This is the usable part of the backyard and up here. I also did the layering trick with this, same as I did here. I didn't need to put any stairs in the hill because I made sure that it was usable to walk on. I really like how this build turned out. It is on the gallery if you want it. This is that build that we're looking at right now. That is all I have for this tutorial on terrain manipulation and landscaping on the terrain that's manipulated. If you liked this video, please give it a like. I am planning on doing a roofing tutorial as well, but if there are any other tutorials that you would like to see, please leave a comment and I will add it to my list of videos. So I hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a like, comment, and subscribe.